title of my message today is The Answer is Yes. And my little teaser that I put out earlier this morning said you had to come to find out what the question is. But actually there are lots of questions, but the answer is yes. We're using our hymnal for this series of sermons I'm doing as our sacred text and choosing readings and hymns that have some special messages for us. This is the time where we kick off our Canvas season, and so I picked out number 6, which is I Will Answer Yes. I Will Answer Yes. It's one of my favorite songs in the hymnal. Maybe it's one of yours. Maybe after today it will be. It's written by Alicia S. Carpenter. She was born in 1930. I don't know a lot about her. She's a UU professional singer and songwriter. But when I looked in our hymnal, I discovered that she really was special for the hymnal committee. Look at the songs that she's written the lyrics for that are in our hymnal. Now, I happen to know from knowing some folks that were on that committee, it was pretty hard to get in. I mean, you had to meet certain criteria, you know. Look at this. I'm just going to flip them up here. That's the one we're talking about today. On and on. Amazing. Last one, Sleep My Child. Amazing that this one person, this UU professional singer and songwriter, had so many contributions to our UU hymnal. Perhaps because she was Unitarian Universalist, so her words, of course, are going to fit with the kinds of things that we would want to see in a UU hymnal. We're going to explore this particular one, though, number 6, Just As Long As I Have Breath. The first verse says, just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. Every day you get up. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Living, folks, is more than just surviving. Now, we have evolved, of course, that we evolve certain things so we're surviving, but surviving means, you know, staying away from hunger or wounds or life-threatening things. Surviving means not dying, but it doesn't necessarily mean living. Living, when you say I'm open to life, living means it centers on life itself and how to embrace life and how to live life to the fullest. Not just to survive, as they say, but to thrive. Do you remember this commercial? Y'all remember that? The woman's in the shower shampooing, and she's using the word yes. Now, I am not going to mimic her yeses. Somehow it just doesn't seem appropriate. But you can go back and look up this herbal fragrance shampoo. She was thriving, and she was embracing her shampoo to the fullest. I like a good shampoo myself, but I don't quite get into it quite the way she does. But yes, she's saying, yes, she's embracing that shampoo. Now, here's another situation where somebody embraced the word yes. This is a picture of Danny Wallace on the cover of his book, Yes Man. Danny was a person that kind of got in the doldrums, you know, about life itself. And it just seemed like things weren't going right, and every time he turned around, there was something else. And he was on the bus sharing about this with his busmate. And the person next to him said, try saying yes more. Try saying yes more. So Danny Wallace said, well, maybe I can make an experiment of this. And for 6 months, I'll try to just say yes, unless it's something life-threatening or something. I'll be open to saying yes, yes. And he did that. I asked him, would he take a certain class? He said, yes, you know. Would he do something? Yes. If he could do it, if it was something he really could do, yes, yes. And he said it changed his life for the better. Now, of course, then they made a movie of it, you might remember, Yes Man, with Jim Carrey. They changed a lot of it, so it'd be kind of really funny, but like Jim Carrey can make it. So the movie is very different from the book, but the concept is the same. The idea of being open to saying yes to things. Now, it's not that you never say no, of course. Even the guy that wrote the book said there are times you might have to say no, but yes is the default. And even if you say no, you might have another alternative. No, I can't do that, but I can do this. In my other church, we were talking about some landscaping that needed to be done, some things in the yard. And one of the women down there told me, well, no, I can't do that. I'm in my 80s now and it's kind of trouble, but I'll write you a check to hire somebody to do it. So it was a yes, but, no, but, yes, this, no to that, yes to this. So, but the default is yes, yes. Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, that book that became very popular, and it was popular years ago, but they keep on publishing it. He says, always say yes to the present moment. What could be more futile, more insane than to create inner resistance to what already is? When I read that, I think about being in traffic, sitting there in traffic. You can get all frustrated and mad, or you can say, okay, this is what it is. This is the traffic, and this provides a time for me to look around and see what's here, time to enjoy the day, and time to maybe plan my supper if I'm going to cook that night. Not me personally, of course, but some of you could do that. Some of you could do that. He says, what could be more insane than to oppose life itself, which is now and always now? Surrender to what is. Say yes to life and see how life suddenly starts working for you rather than against you. Now, that was actually in the introduction. He himself was one of these people that had depression. So later, when he was 29 years old, he had this personal epiphany. He said, I heard the words, resist nothing, as if spoken inside my chest. And he relates that he felt like he was falling into a void afterwards and thought, I'm just going to resist nothing from now on. And that allowed him to be open to life, to saying yes. The second verse says, just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Some of you are old enough to remember this old show. You old enough to remember that? Truth or consequences? Bob Barker, they'd have something, they'd ask people, usually it was something they couldn't get. And they'd say, no, that's not true, so you have to do the consequences. And they'd make them do some silly thing, Truth or consequences. Sometimes you wonder about that today. Are there no consequences anymore to lying? Are there no consequences? CNN tried to address the idea that some folks have that if they say something long enough or say it loud enough, people will believe them, and some people will.
This is an apple. Some people might try to tell you that it's a banana. They might scream banana, banana, banana over and over and over again. They might put banana in all caps. You might even start to believe that this is a banana. But it's not. This is an apple.
Of course, it's CNN, that's of course fake news, but just teasing. But it presents something that I think is well for us to think about. We have generally all accepted and come together and said, this is what we will call an apple, But now, is there no general consensus about what is true anymore? I've been trying to read this book called The Death of Truth by Mikiko Kakutani. Well, after reading the title to Greg and telling him that's what I was reading, he said, oh, that's an old concept. That's an old concept. And, well, of course it is. Jesus, when he was with Pilate, Jesus says, I'm here to witness to the truth. And Pilate says, what is truth? And went and washed his hands, even way back then. But then if you read the small print down under there, it says, notes on falsehood in the age of Trump, okay? So it's true that the death of truth is an old concept, but this writer is trying to share some things in the present day that connect to it in the present day. And this is what this writer says. This is a world in which fake news and lies are pumped out in industrial volume by Russian troll factories, emitted in an endless stream from the mouth and Twitter feed of the President of the United States, and sent flying across the world through social media accounts at lightning speed. Nationalism, tribalism, dislocation, fears of social change, and the hatred of outsiders are all on the rise again as people locked in their partisan silos and filter bubbles are losing a sense of shared reality and the ability to communicate across social and sectarian lines. And this is what we see so much of, and all of us are part of this. All of us fall into this sometimes where we're seeing things, and if it doesn't, after our mind's made up about something, if something else doesn't fit it, well, maybe it's not true, because it doesn't fit what I'm already thinking about. Now, this looks like it's pretty much a slam on the right, and it is. But this author also puts some share of the blame on the left. And this is what, kind of like we heard Giuliano say, truth isn't truth. And our president said, what you're reading and seeing is not what's happening, Where did they get things like that? Well, relativism has been ascendant since the cultural wars began in the 1960s. Back then, it was embraced by the new left. Eager to expose the biases of the West, bourgeois male-dominated thinking, and by academics promoting the gospel of postmodernism, which argued that there are no universal truths, only smaller personal truths, perceptions shaped by the cultural and social forces of one's day. That's what many of us grew up reading in our schooling. Since then, relativistic arguments have been hijacked by the populist right, including creationists and climate change deniers who insist that their views can be taught alongside, quote, science-based theories, because after all, they're all theories. You hear that from some folks? So really they're saying, hey, this is what we learned, this is what we read in college, about. So these are just alternative facts. This is just how I'm seeing it. One of the politicians says, he didn't care what the statistics said, that this is how people feel, So, that's again by the same author. But thank goodness there was a smart woman from Georgia who kind of tried to get us clear on this. Sally Yates, former acting attorney general, said, not only is there such a thing as objective truth, failing to tell the truth matters. We can't control whether our public servants lie to us, but we can control whether we hold them accountable for those lies, or whether, in a state of exhaustion, which many of us get to, or to protect our own political objectives, we look the other way and normalize an indifference to truth. And that's the scary part. Are we normalizing now an indifference to truth? Can we still say yes to truth? Our third verse. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
What's love got to do with it? What's love
That is who? Tina Turner. Well, now I can understand Tina Turner's sort of a little bit of her frustration with love. Can you? And I was reading Notes from the Far Fringe. It's a blog by Reverend Kimberly DeBus. She's somebody that looks at the hymns in our hymnal and makes commentary on them. She loves this hymn as much as I do, but she said when she was reading that third verse, sort of in this awareness now, this Me Too awareness we have, it bothered her a little bit. The idea that disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. And she thought of all of the folks who've stayed in relationships and put up with abuse and horrible things, but they did it for love. They never complained. They may have stayed in churches putting up with abuse and did it for love. Love of the organization, love of maybe God, or love of their pastor or priest or whatever. Did it for love. It's not the way it should be. She goes on to share with us this. She said, disappointment pierced me through, and then I named the problem. I called you back in. We talked about the harm. We developed a plan for reconciliation. We kept each other accountable. And then I kept on loving you. Yes, that's what we're trying to do with some things we're doing with Adore, right? Yes, then I kept on loving you. She goes on to say, let's not mistake love for permission, and let's stop using love as permission. If you love me, let's make sure love means calling for, expecting, and giving the very best of ourselves. That's what love should be, giving the very best of ourselves. And we should say yes to that. Yes to giving the best of ourselves. Now, anytime we do that, we're taking a risk. We're taking that risk of our heart being broken, of us being disappointed with a person or organization. Because saying yes to love is saying yes to relationships. Relationships with other people, individuals and groups, and with even nations. Relationships. There's this guy, his name is Guy, that I read, and this is what he says about that. A yes buys time, enables you to see more options, and builds rapport. By contrast, a no response stops everything. There's no place to go, nothing to build on, and no future options, no further options. You never know what may come of a relationship, and you will never know if you don't let it begin. At least think, not yet, instead of no. He also says, to make a default yes work, you must assume that people are reasonable, honest, and grateful. While everyone isn't always reasonable, honest, and grateful, the majority are. And you can live your life in one of two ways. Thinking that people are bad until proven good, or good until proven bad. Say yes to love, to relationships. Say yes to organizations like this church who are trying to be on the side of love. Yes, say yes to love at UUFS. Here in this congregation, we have needs. We have things we want from one another, things to give. Let's say yes. Now I'm going to do a little bit. You don't have to stand up for this, but I want you to sit up on the edge of your seat a little bit, and I'm going to do an experiment with you, a little body experiment that I found in this book, Tony Bum's The Power of Yes. So I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand in the air. Now raise your left hand in the air. Now stretch, stretch, stretch up. Can you feel it opening you up? Yes, it's opening you. And not only does it open you, look what you're making. You're making a chalice, right? To fill with love. All right, you can put your hands down. You open yourself up. Made it. Now, you can even do that when you're feeling the need, a little motivation to say yes. Use your body to make the why, stretch it out. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do for this congregation. Stretch yourselves out. Help us out. So we're going to play the Yes, Let's game. I'm going to play it with you all about things related to this congregation. And here they come. Our congregation is enjoying our home, including our addition of the Mind Body Center. With home ownership comes responsibilities of maintenance and beautification. Let's provide adequate funding for the support of these opportunities. Yes, let's. We're delighted to have families with children and youth joining us, and we need to make sure we're providing a good spiritual home for them, including appropriate funding for our teachers and materials. Let's adequately fund teachers' needs and child care providers to assist and provide them care during summer services and other activities. Yes, let's. We shouldn't be having anything here just about that we don't have the opportunity for folks to come to. And if we don't provide child care when we have various activities, there are many folks that can't come, right? Our music ministry has immense potential. We have a very talented music director. We would like to support other professional musicians in our community by inviting them to perform and paying them appropriately. But we do not have the money in our current budget to support this. Let's support our music program with our time, our talents, and our treasure. Yes, let's. We are realizing what a strong, liberal, religious voice we can be for this community. We need to support those on the side of love with proper training for being leaders of this prophetic congregation and other community organizations. Let's provide funds in our operational budget for these trainings. Yes, let's. Our programs continue to improve with capable lay-led services and other speakers on the Sundays when our minister is serving our sister congregation in Brunswick. Let's provide additional funds to bring in other ministers and to provide a better honorarium to visiting speakers from the community. Yes, let's. In association with other Unitarian Universalist congregations, we can make history rather than just being pushed around by it. We believe that our principles are life-changing and world-changing. Let's find ways to move this vision forward. Yes, let's. Yes, let's. I'm going to be playing a song by Holly Near to close this out. It's a simple little song, and as you hear it, I think you'll catch on, and I hope you'll sing with her about being open and willing to say yes.
I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly, and may the elders be more it seems so strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
Oh, let us be open and willing to give our time, our talents, and our treasure. And let's make this one of the best canvas drives we've ever had. Yes, let's. Let's do that again. Yes, let's. All right.